Welcome to the second part of a four-part series in setbacks to comebacks. So, as often happens in coaching sessions, when we speak about the challenges and setbacks faced, I frequently hear the same pattern. People will say, make mistakes all the time. I never seem to accomplish what I set out to achieve. Always seem to be putting it off. Life just happens, other things become more important. Or sometimes the setback doesn't just limit them, it labels them, like it did me. I remember a speaker giving the example of asking this question: "Are you single or married?" To which the volunteer replied, "Well, I'm divorced." Which is also the answer I thought to give at that time, because that was me, I was divorced. The volunteer was asked again, and this is when I began to think that there was more to this than originally met the eye, or ear in this case. When the question was asked again, my trick question alarm bell began to go off. "Are you single or married?" And again he answered, "I'm divorced." Then he was asked how long ago. He said, 22 years. So, 22 years earlier, something had happened, and he had carried that label ever since. Now, folks, that's the power of a setback when you allow it to define us, or when you allow it to define you. And I immediately understood this, because being divorced subconsciously carried for me another element to it, as opposed to being single. Now, being single, in hindsight and thinking upon it, being single has a more powerful feel to it for me. It's independent. To me, it seems to carry that element of strength. So there was a time in my own life when I allowed an experience to become my identity. I wore it, I spoke it, I believed it. It became the reason for where I was. And I believed people needed to know the reason of why I was where I was until I became aware of what I was doing and subsequently chose differently. Because when you label yourself in a negative way, you begin to speak from that place. I'm only XYZ. I couldn't possibly do that. Or, as for me, I'm divorced. This is why I'm here. I'm in this situation. Things like, why does this always happen to me? And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to settle and then cement yourself in that setback. I labelled as three things. It defines value, usage, and content. So when you repeatedly say, "I can't do that," or "I'm always getting things wrong," you are reinforcing a limited identity. And that identity, folks, will shape your future unless you interrupt it. So let me share 5 common reasons people limit themselves. The first is early childhood conditioning. And there's a story of a young girl from a poor family who once went with her family on a trip to the snow. They were all packed tightly into a small car, driving up the mountain just to watch others ski. At one point, the little girl asked her mother, "Why don't we ski?" To which her mother replied, "Well, people like us just don't ski." Now, that moment could have become a lifelong limitation. But the story didn't end there. A few years later, that same girl met friends at school who skied, and she decided, she took it upon herself, that she would learn. And so she did. Opportunities opened up for her. That's the power of a belief being challenged. Because early conditioning can plant seeds like, "Well, this is just who I am. This is as far as I ever will go. This is all I'm capable of." But those beliefs are not truth. those beliefs are learned beliefs. Another influence is social and cultural conditioning. And trust me, folks, this goes deep, deep down. The environment you grow up in, the conversations around you, the expectations placed on you, they all shape what you believe is possible. And sometimes there's an invisible ceiling. What John Maxwell calls the law of the lid, Robert Kiyosaki also refers to this. Don't go too high. Don't stand out too much. Don't be a tall poppy. Stay here where it's comfortable. But what if you are the one who is meant to rise beyond that? What if you are here to break that pattern? I'll give you another couple of examples of that social conditioning. Yes, when I suddenly became single and here on the farm, I had my background was I'd always believed I was a strong, independent woman and that I could really do anything I put my mind to it. But all of a sudden, I found myself thinking, so and so, he's a man, he knows how to chainsaw better than I do. And a couple of times I had men come out and show me or do things for me. And I realised that in actual fact, with the knowledge that I had gained from my former husband, I was far more skilled, far more knowledgeable than what they were. And yet, even though I had considered myself strong and independent, this social, cultural environment had its deepest roots inside me and just came up to the fore. It has since left with a great deal of persuasion. So number 3, another cause of limiting beliefs is past negative experiences. Now, we've all had things that didn't work out. That's part of life. Things that hurt, things that didn't go as planned. And there's a proverb that says, unrelenting disappointment can leave you stuck, but a sudden breakthrough can turn your life around. And do you know what, guys? That's the truth. Yes, things may not be working perfectly right now, but we don't need to stay there. We actually have a choice. We can choose to rise. We can choose to move forward. We can choose to grow. Number 4, another major factor is the fear of failure. You absolutely have the right to create a great life. But let's be honest, you will need more than vision. It's not enough to just see it. And by now, if you've been following me, you'll know that you have to feel it and live it. And here's the crunch, and you have to take action. You have to fight for it sometimes. That is, you must believe it is yours right to the essence of your core. You have the sight and you have the right. So part of this journey is reclaiming your courage, getting to the point where you say, there has to be more than this. I'm not staying here. I'm moving forward. And finally, number 5, low self-esteem. If you don't believe in yourself, it's time to put on some new glasses, to seek a new perspective. Because the truth is, you are something very special. You are something unique. And you are something powerful. There is only one you. You were born an original, and you are not here to live as a copy, a secondary, mediocre life. With heart, Margarita. And folk, if this message resonated with you, I'd love for you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your biggest takeaway in the comments.